Hello to all my Biconics wrestling fans out there. This is Mikey coming from his cell phone, only because of the fact that my laptop's not cooperating with me, but I wanted to make sure that I still give you a Monday Night Raw review. So, as always, let's just dive into it. Monday Night Raw kicks off this week with Drew McIntyre cutting a promo in the ring in which he talks about how he is not happy with everything and that people are doing things, and lo and behold, Sami Zayn interrupts. Sami says one word too far, which then goes into the match between Drew and Sami Zayn. I thought this match was a lot of fun, but ultimately Drew McIntyre picks up the victory, which we'll be seeing a little bit more of them as we go along. We cut backstage with Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler as Shayna is preparing against her match with Nia Jax later. And of course, she says that she's going to take the hurt to Nia Jax, so we shall see what happens with that. We get a nice video package of main event Jey Uso, and I thought this was an extremely well done video package, and it makes me believe that he is going to do all kinds of things, and I'm super excited to see what happens with all of this now. I thought this was a really good video package. It's probably my favorite segment from the night. From here, we cut backstage again, in which Drew McIntyre jumps Sami Zayn, and I love this Drew McIntyre. Slowly, we've been getting this heel turn, and now I feel like he solidified it by going after one of the biggest baby faces that Raw has at the moment outside of Cody and Jay, because everybody loves Sami, so this is going to be interesting to see what happens with that. We try to get a backstage interview with Becky Lynch, but Nia Jax interrupts, and basically they go back and forth. We have not seen a match between these two in a very long time, so this is going to be very interesting to see how this gets set up later. But ultimately, Becky and Nia are on each other's radar, so we're going to be getting this match at some point. We do now get our actual match between Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Shayna Baszler takes the offense up first, and she is able to control a little bit of the mass. But unfortunately here, Nia Jax powers out, and she picks up the victory here. I don't know how I personally feel about Shayna Baszler losing, but we'll see what happens. And I feel like I'm one of the few people that doesn't mind Nia Jax being back in WWE, but we shall see what happens with that. We get a recap of CM Punk's return from Survivor Series, and I said this on my SmackDown review, and I will continue to say it as long as I need to. WWE, can we please not continue to get these long recaps? Again, I understand you got to do it for everybody who may not watch the product all the time, but for those of us that do, we watch the pay-per-view, we got the recap last week, we got the recap on Friday Night SmackDown, we don't need another recap, you guys, but Punk is going to be on SmackDown this week, and for those of you who are asking, according to Fightful and other news outlets, CM Punk is touted to be a free agent, so he can go between Raw and SmackDown and NXT. So that answers that question. Backstage, we see DIY with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell as they prepare for their match. Imperium comes up and talks a lot of smack. Candice LeRae fires back, which then leads into our 2 out of 3 falls tag team match between DIY and Imperium. And I'm going to be honest, this is, for me personally, this is my match of the night. I thought this was a really fun match, and I knew we were going to get some great stuff between Imperium and DIY. Both of them ended up taking one pinfall, but ultimately DIY walks out of this tag team match with the victory, and I'm interested to see how the fallout with Imperium is going to continue to happen, because with Ludwig and Giovanni losing tonight, I'm very interested to see what Gunther's going to have to say about all this. And now what I love to see is that the fans are slowly getting behind Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano as DIY. So it makes me extremely happy because I'm a big fan of DIY, and it's nice to see the crowd finally be behind them. From here, we get backstage segment with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, as well as Natalya and Tegan Nox talking about it, which is also prepping Natalya and Tegan for their tag team match tonight. And speaking of tag teams, we go from here to a backstage segment where all the men's tag team are hanging out. So there's that. Once again, we get another backstage segment to where the Judgment Day comes in and tries to kick out R-Truth. R-Truth still is one of the funniest things right now. And I love seeing R-Truth interact with the Judgment Day boys. So, Judgment Day boys try to kick R-Truth out. Doesn't happen. Finn and Rhea Ripley are not there at the show, so Damian Priest gives the orders for tonight, and he tells Dominic and JD to go get ready because they have their match later tonight. We then enter our women's tag team match where Natalya and Tegan Nox take on Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. This was a very fun match, and I ultimately agree with the decision that Kaden and Katana winning because I feel that of all the of all the Monday Night Raw tag teams you got for the women's division, Katana and Kaden should be picking up wins because I think you need to be able to have more challengers to Chelsea Green and Piper Niven outside of Natalya and Tegan Nox. From here, Cody Rhodes comes down to the ring and he talks about what happened last week with Shinsuke Nakamura and how he is going to answer Shinsuke's questions, which then prompts Shinsuke Nakamura to once again appear on the Titantron and say that he's going to finish the story for Cody. Cody ends the segment by saying that he is going to be taking care of Shinsuke. I'm excited between this feud between Shinsuke and Cody. Hopefully, this is probably going to be the feud leading into Royal Rumble because Cody needs to do something until he wins the Elimination Chamber and goes on to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. At least that's the plan, I think. But, at this point, who knows? From here, Jey Uso is backstage checking on Sami Zayn. And then Gunther is talking to Adam Pearce, but we don't know from what, though. So this is going to be interesting to see. From here, we get a tag team match between the Judgment Day and the Creed brothers. And this was a really fun match, but ultimately I was really happy to see the Creed brothers pick up the victory here, as they should, since they are number one contenders. I know I've seen some people online talk about how the Judgment Day shouldn't be jobbing out like this, but I don't mind it in this case, because you can't have your number one contenders for the tag team championships lose these kinds of matches, especially after they won them through a gauntlet the other week, so there's that part. From here, we go backstage once again, where Seth is talking with Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce brings up the fact that he's going to be trying to sign CM Punk to Monday Night Raw, in which Seth talks about, if it blows up in his face, don't be surprised and don't come crying to me. This has Jey Uso come down to talk to Seth, and we eventually just lead into our main event for the night for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This is Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins. This was a phenomenal match. This was my second favorite match of the evening, but the 2 out of 3 falls is still my personal favorite. But this one was in contention to be number one because, my goodness, this was great. Seth killed it. Jey killed it. And this is amazing stuff. But ultimately, Seth Rollins does pick up the victory here and it is still your WWE World Heavyweight Championship. As Monday Night Raw goes off the air, Drew McIntyre jumps Jey, beats him down, throws him through a table. And that is how Monday Night Raw goes off the air this week. I know it's a little bit more of a short review, but given the fact that I am working and recording off a cell phone, I don't want to keep this longer than it needs to be. But next week, though, I will be back to the regular scheduled programming when hopefully my laptop is fixed. Of course, now I have to give my rating. So out of 10, I'm going to give this a solid 8 out of 10. I thought this Monday Night Raw was really, really strong. There wasn't really anything that slowed down. My only big critique is, I know you have to give Nia Jax the wins here, but we need to start building out more women's story because Becky's not doing anything. You have a bunch of women that are kind of just sitting there, but I am happy to see that the women's tag team division is doing something. I just want more women on my screen. My only other critique too is the Judgment Day storyline is kind of dragging out. I know we have to wait to see what happens, but I still enjoyed the show, so I give it an 8 out of 10. But that is going to be it for my Monday Night Raw. I can speak it the English, I promise. But that's going to be it for this week's Monday Night Raw review from the Raw Squad. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to check out all the other reviews we have here on the Biconics Wrestling Podcast channel. You can also make sure to subscribe to us all over the social medias at bcwrestlepod to get notifications of when these videos go live, as well as out of context clips and some fun shenanigans. And finally, make sure to subscribe to the actual Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where all wrestling podcasts can be found. We just recorded our end of the year episode for 2023 where we talked about the highs and the lows. So you better check that out and make sure that you join us for the ride. But from Mikey, the rest of the Raw squad, and all of us here at the Biconics, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, stay biconic, you beautiful bastards. But until the next review, we'll see you then. But ta-ta for now.